Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and in this case we're going to be analyzing the Brevard sheriff shooting that took place a few days ago, and there's a lot of interesting stuff here to analyze, and we're going to be doing just that. Before I start with this though, if you're in the least interested in this sort of thing and you want to prepare yourself for the possibility of having to defend yourself with firearms, with knives, with your bare hands, a lot of this is covered in my latest book, Street Survival Skills. I just mention it again and again because all of these things that you see, the way you move with a firearm, why it is so, the idea of taking cover, the idea of being aware and your head on a swivel, a lot of this stuff that I mention and I explain in my book happens in these videos. I haven't, I'm not reinventing the wheel here. I'm just analyzing things that have happened time and time and again, and you realize that certain things work, and that's what I cover in the book. So if you're interested in this, get the book and be better prepared. So let's start with this video right now. This starts pretty mellow. You see there's a couple guys, there's a woman and a man. He's leaning on the car. Before we even start, look at where everyone is standing. You see the officer, he's about to open a door there in the car where there's another male with a 2-month baby and a dog. Now this other officer that you see over here, he's already well positioned. This is something that you want to keep in mind yourself in general. Even if you're not an officer, you should get to that point of, I don't like stuff happening where I don't see it. I don't, even when you're sitting in a restaurant, you just naturally tend to, put your back towards a wall and have a good view of what's going on, and you're covered in the back with that wall, and you have a good view of the main door, other exits maybe, so you know what's going on. You just lift your head as you go about your day, but you see what's going on. You don't have any, a dead field of view where you're not seeing what's going on. So this already may have been the reason why these guys survived this situation over here. So, I just want to mention these little details because this doesn't matter if you're an officer, doesn't matter if you're not, doesn't matter if you're not even armed, even if you don't have a concealed carry license. The idea is knowing what's going on may be the big difference between being alive or dead, even if you don't have a firearm. So the field of view of this officer is ideal. This one is pretty much doing the same thing. He has a good view of these, but as soon as he's engaged here, he's not going to be having the same attention on these other two. Let's see what happens first and then analyze it, a little bit more detail.
What's that?
Just talking typical southern friendliness.
All right, partner. He will talk to you out here. Is that all you're... Yeah. I'll watch it for you. He's all right. I got babies.
He's all right. I got babies. Friendly guy, laughing.
I'll bet you're all right.
You're all
I got
right.
babies too, man.
I got baby too. I got babies too.
Huh? Okay. Shit.
And then all hell breaks loose. All of a sudden, he starts shooting. He goes for it. He goes for it. Yeah. AR pistol. I'm hit. He's beating the cop to death. Boom, 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 boom. That's over. He's still looking around. Doesn't know if someone else is going to be attacking him. Some of those are two that left. Picks up the magazine that he dropped. Reloads. Done. So that's it. Now let's unpack this little by little because a lot goes down here very, very quickly. It's just a few seconds, but there's a lot to be learned here. So, as I was saying before, these guys are friendly, they're polite. That doesn't matter. When someone is determined to kill you and not go back to prison, no matter how polite you are, it's going to be in 1 second. He doesn't care that just 1 second ago you told them that you had a baby. They couldn't care less. He's going to be killing you if he has the chance. So, he starts right away with his AR pistol. The officer reacts very well, very fast. He's immediately going for his firearm while at the same time moving. He's a big guy, but he's still moving. Doesn't matter. He's just putting distance and stuff between him and the guy that's shooting him. In this case, he has cars. That's good stuff to have between you and someone that's trying to kill you. So he does that. He moves towards here, and he's falling because he's probably may be injured already. He may have been shot already. He still keeps moving. This guy, I don't know for sure if he, because you see a round, maybe that's an empty that he already fired. Now, I don't think that he had either a lot of training with that AR pistol of his, or if he had it with a round in the chamber and the safety. If this guy had a certain amount of proficiency and dexterity with that gun, he had it with a round in the chamber, safety on, and just lowered the safety and started shooting, he could have, ended this officer right there and then. But for whatever reason, I don't know if he just fires one round and then he seems to be trying to manipulate the firearm as well, or just brings it down to, I see an MT that's going out there, but then, he brings it down like that. I don't know if he's trying to, whatever. That he's a thug, a street thug, but he's obviously not all that well trained with firearms. He just liked the idea of an AR pistol. That makes a lot of sense. Powerful gun, but really not ideal. You see it has no stock, the typical AR pistol. You just see the buffer tube, and the short barrel is really not ideal. Anything less than 14.5 inches in an AR system, direct impingement, it is really not that much of a good idea. Yeah, you have these tactical special forces dudes that have like the very short, but you have to fine tune it very well if you want those barrel lengths to be reliable in your gun. It may be the case that it's not as reliable as you think. Yeah, sure, someone in the comments will say I have a 5-inch barrel AR is perfectly reliable. Okay, in general, anything shorter than 14 inches may end up being complicated if it's not tuned correctly and that buffer spring is not well adjusted to that. Anyway, this guy keeps on shooting. He's wounded, the officer, but he keeps fighting. Now, this other guy does, smart thing. He takes cover himself. He goes around the vehicle, but where he screws up is lack of training. He doesn't know that his best choice there is to stay behind cover and peep around cover rather than expose himself directly as he does. He keeps on shooting like the maniac that he is, but he's exposing himself nicely there. So this officer is probably much better trained. He's taking cover here, but it's ready for him when he goes around the car. So he starts shooting. His shot placement is not all that great, but he ends up shooting him in the leg. And for all of those people that say, why didn't you just shoot him in the leg? Why do you have to shoot him 14 times? We'll talk about why he had to shoot him 14 times, but let me also mention why you never freaking shoot to the leg, because it just doesn't work. First of all, shooting someone in the leg, it is very difficult. It's very unlikely to hit. It usually happens by coincidence. When you're trying to shoot center of mass, especially something like this, stress, you may end up hitting someone in the leg and the arm unintentionally. So I'm very sure he was not trying to shoot him in the leg, but the point is, shooting someone in the leg does not work, because he may end up being able to keep on fighting, which he does. He just gets back on his feet, jumps around a little bit. You see a round hitting the glass there, so rounds fly all over the place, but he's still shooting. Now his gun already jammed, maybe because of the barrel length, maybe because it was not properly maintained, maybe because he accidentally touched or manipulated something he shouldn't have. Anyway, the gun is not working for him anymore, and he just gives up. He's not trying to clear anything. It's not doing its thing for him. So he starts jumping around, but he goes back to it. So he goes back to these guys and goes around. Now this other guy, he keeps shooting, right? He's wounded. He's shooting one-handed, but he's shooting at people that are already leaving this place, and they're not in the fight. Fortunately, whoever it is that he's shooting at, and you see the empties flying there, fortunately, he didn't shoot these other two that were not directly involved in the fight and were not attacking him. So that's a good thing that those shots that he's firing right now did not hit those people. Now, at the same time, this guy with a jammed AR comes around and starts hitting him over the head with the AR pistol. That can be fatal. You can get clubbed to death with a jammed gun. Now, his friend here, his partner, he hasn't got a shot because the guy is right in between that. So, wounded and now being hit over the head with a gun, he goes down. You may end up being killed. He has like a 40-round magazine there. That's a big magazine. Anyway, he cannot fire the gun, but notice what happens. He accidentally drops his magazine, poor grip, whatever it is, stress, he touches the mag release and the gun does what it's supposed to do. It releases the magazine. This is why I'm very much against the idea of oversized mag catches, mag releases for guns for a fighting gun, because this happens all the time. You see this in videos and videos and videos all the time. He drops a magazine in the middle of the fight. He could have shot, maybe got a shot there, but he dropped the mag. Now, he runs around the car that is the one with the dash cam that we're watching through right now. At the same time, this guy keeps on clubbing and beating that officer as much as he can. He's probably trying to kill him. Now, he goes around, reloads, and we're not seeing that reload, but he definitely did one. And when he reloads, he comes around and starts pumping rounds. You hear those dun 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 dun, and you see the empties flying. 1, 2, 3, 4. I counted like 14, 15 rounds fired, but he has to stop that guy right now because he's beating the officer to death. Just one more impact of those may crack his skull and kill him. So that's why he shoots so many times, because he has to stop him immediately. There's no more time for anything else. Now, at this point, he effectively stopped that threat, but he realized that he dropped the magazine, so he picks up the magazine and uses that to reload. Now, my little piece of advice is don't do that, because you don't know if there's dirt. If you have a spare magazine, if you have a nut, which officers usually will have a couple spare magazines at least, use your fresh magazine that you kept in your mag pouch, because you don't want to have any dirt, any debris, anything that may have, or maybe the magazine it broke when it fell. You just don't know. It's better. I mean, you can pick that later. Reload with a mag in your mag pouch. Now, one of the things he does well is he does it properly, the reloading drill. He does that well. It puts the magazine, looks around. Now he's moving around a lot. That's good. You don't want to be stationary. You don't want to be stuck in a position where if one of these guys around actually has a gun and is aiming at you, the more you move, that's better. He's also like making himself small. He has the car so as to have some sort of cover. He's moving around and he has his head on a swivel, which is what you want to do. And he's prepared to fight back if anyone starts shooting and coming at him. So all of that is properly done. Folks, very interesting video. A lot of the stuff that we talk about time and again, this stuff that we talk all the time, you see it here. He's now communicating. All of that is great, which is what an officer is supposed to do. Now, as normal dude around going about his life, if you find yourself in this position, maybe you're not going to be using a radio, but you may end up moving around and staying in cover and being ready for anyone that comes at you. Again, you don't know if those guys are armed and willing to attack you again. Sure, once you see that's no longer a threat, once you have an idea that you're okay now, yeah, you may end up picking your phone, and instead of using a police radio, maybe you call 911 and you let them know what's going on. Anyway, guys, very interesting video. If you are, again, interested in this sort of stuff, I, again, recommend Street Survival Skills. This is, half the book is about pretty much stuff regarding self-defense, awareness, how you move around in the streets, all the precautions you get, and how you try to avoid, not as an officer, but as someone on the street, how you try to avoid stuff like this. Interested in Street Survival Skills, that's the book. If you're interested in economic collapse preparedness, my first book, The Modern Survival Manual, Surviving the Economic Collapse. If you're looking at relocating, which is something that you may end up want to do if you're living in a blue state, the Bugging Out and Relocating book is particularly intended for that sort of thing, and especially these days with everything going on, you may want to check it out as well. Links for all of that below. See you in the next video, folks. Have an awesome day. Take care.